The sound of $1 million dream collapsing can be quieter than a whisper. Sometimes it happens in a luxury showroom, surrounded by polished floors, expensive suits, and a car worth more than most people will ever earn in a lifetime. And sometimes the person standing in the middle of that moment is not a billionaire, not a celebrity, and not someone anyone expects to change the story. He was just a mechanic with old boots, tired hands, and a toolbox that carried more memories than tools. The CEO looked at him like he didn't belong there. She stood beside a $5 million masterpiece, a car built with perfection, technology, and pride. She had spent years building her empire, and everyone around her knew her name. But the man standing in front of her had something money could not buy, the courage to say no. The words that came next shocked everyone in the room. "You want $899 just to touch my engine?" the CEO asked with disbelief. The mechanic looked at the car, then back at her. His voice was calm, but every word carried the weight of years of struggle. "Then your $5 million car never moves." Before we continue this emotional journey, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and that a person's value is not measured by their clothes or their bank account, please take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share this story with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel Beyond Single Dad. Because sometimes the people we overlook are the ones who teach us the greatest lessons. The man's name was Kaelen Voss. For most people walking into the luxury automotive world that morning, Kaelen looked like a stranger who had wandered into the wrong building. His faded work jacket had oil stains that never fully washed away. His old metal toolbox had scratches from years of being carried through garages, parking lots, and roadside emergencies. But inside that toolbox was something more valuable than gold. Experience. Kaelen had spent 30 years listening to engines the way musicians listen to songs. He could hear a problem before a computer could detect it. He could feel when a machine was struggling. He believed every engine had a story, and his job was to understand it. But life had not been kind to him. Years earlier, Kaelen had owned a small repair shop in a quiet neighborhood. It wasn't fancy. The sign outside was faded, the waiting room had old chairs, and the coffee machine was always broken. But people trusted him. Families brought him their old cars because they knew he would tell them the truth. He never charged someone for a repair they didn't need. He never took advantage of people who didn't understand engines. And that honesty was the reason some people loved him. It was also the reason he struggled. In a world where many businesses chased profit, Kaelen chased trust. Then one winter changed everything. A powerful storm damaged his shop. Insurance problems, rising costs, and medical bills after an accident left him with almost nothing. The place he built for decades disappeared almost overnight. For the first time in his life, Kaelen wondered if his skills still mattered. He started working smaller jobs. Fixing old trucks. Repairing farm equipment. Helping strangers on the side of the road. He didn't have luxury clients anymore. But he still had pride. Meanwhile, across the city, a woman named Serafina Vale was living a completely different life. Serafina was the CEO of a global automotive company known for creating some of the most advanced vehicles on the planet. She had built her reputation through intelligence, determination, and impossible standards. People admired her. But few people knew how lonely success could feel. She had spent years chasing perfection. Every decision was about numbers, investments, and protecting the company's image. Her newest achievement was a custom-built vehicle valued at $5 million. It was supposed to represent the future of engineering. A machine that would prove her company was unbeatable. The only problem was, the engine stopped. At first, everyone thought it was a small software issue. Engineers checked the systems. Specialists ran tests. Experts from around the world examined the vehicle. Nothing worked. The car refused to start. And for Serafina, it wasn't just a mechanical failure. It was personal. That vehicle represented everything she had sacrificed. Her reputation. Her years of hard work. Her belief that money and technology could solve anything. Then someone mentioned a mechanic. Not a famous engineer. Not a luxury brand specialist. A man named Kaelen Voss. At first, Serafina laughed. She couldn't understand why anyone would recommend a man who worked out of an old garage. But after weeks of frustration, she agreed. That was how Kaelen entered the showroom. The room became silent when he walked in. Employees looked at him. Some smiled. Some judged. They saw the worn jacket. They saw the toolbox. They saw someone they thought was beneath them. Kaelen ignored all of it. He walked toward the car and studied it carefully. He didn't touch it. He didn't rush. He simply listened. After several minutes, he finally spoke. "This engine isn't broken," he said. Everyone looked confused. "It's being protected." Serafina frowned. "What does that mean?" Kaelen explained that the system was shutting itself down because a small but critical issue was causing the engine to enter safety mode. The problem wasn't the expensive parts. It was a tiny connection hidden deep inside the system. The engineers had looked for something complicated. They ignored something simple. Serafina asked him to fix it. Kaelen looked at the car. Then he gave his price. $899. The room became quiet. Serafina stared at him. "You want $899 just to touch my engine?" Her tone wasn't angry. It was disbelief. She was used to people charging thousands just because of her name. She was used to expensive consultants and luxury service fees. But this man asked for less than a dinner at one of her company events. Kaelen calmly replied that the price wasn't for touching the engine. It's for knowing where to touch. The employees around them laughed quietly. They thought he was being arrogant. Serafina felt insulted. She believed anyone could be replaced. Anyone could be bought. She told him she could hire the best engineers in the world. Kaelen picked up his toolbox. And that was when he said the sentence nobody expected. "Then hire them." He looked at the car one last time. "But if nobody else can fix what they don't understand, your $5 million car will never move." The room froze. No one talked to Serafina like that. Everyone expected her to get angry. Instead, she watched him walk away. For some reason, his confidence stayed in her mind. Not because he challenged her. Because he didn't care about impressing her. The next morning, the car was still dead. The engineers still had no answer. The company's biggest investors were demanding explanations. The pressure grew. And finally, Serafina made a decision she never thought she would make. She called Kaelen. When he returned, something had changed. The CEO who once looked down on him now stood quietly beside the car. Kaelen opened his toolbox. Inside were old tools. Some were worn from decades of use. One small wrench caught Serafina's attention. She asked him why he kept such an old tool. Kaelen smiled. He told her it belonged to his father. His father was the man who taught him that machines were not just metal.